Well, it's an interesting concept for a thriller. Hush, starring Kate Siegel, John Gallagher Jr., and directed by Mike Flanagan. Hush was released earlier this year as a Netflix original film. The movie is a standard suspense thriller with a unique twist. The main heroine is deaf. This adds more suspense to many of the scenarios found in the film. With another suspense thriller, Don't Breathe, being released, which has a blind man as the main villain, I thought checking this movie out would be timely. Hush is a simple movie, but effective in the story it wants to tell. The movie starts with a basic setup. We learn the layout of the house that the main character, Maddie, lives in. We see many of the callbacks which will be used later in the film for Maddie's protection and survival. The initial reveal of Maddie being deaf is handled very well within the film. The opening shot sequence is well done and brings you into the movie. We then get some basic information about Maddie and her neighbor. The film quickly progresses past the opening and builds tension and suspense. The antagonist is quickly introduced, and he is, for the first part of the film, really frightening. You never do find out his motivation, other than he is a psychopath who wants to kill people. This works for these types of movies, but I do wish he would have left the mask on the entire film. They tried at first, it seemed, to establish him as a Michael Myers or Jason. I think the film would have been even more terrifying without him ever saying a word. We didn't get this, and John Gallagher Jr. did a good job of playing the demented villain for the film. I believed he was crazy and capable of the things he did in the movie. Kate Siegel also does a good job in the film playing a person trapped in her house. She plays every emotion well, and you do believe the terror she feels throughout the film. I like most of the ideas she had to escape, and they felt natural to the story. There were a few times where Maddie decides on a course of action which doesn't make much sense. This is one reason I don't usually like these types of films. I don't understand when characters make ludicrous decisions just to further a plot or scenario. Hush only did this with Maddie to a minor degree, and one could equate some of the poor decisions to the character's stress. The main issue I did have with the film was the generic way the second half of the story was developed. The setup with Maddie was great, and the added element of her being deaf built on the tension and the plot. Flanagan seemed to go away from this concept during the second half of the film and fell into standard suspense tropes. I was hoping Maddie would turn the situation on its head and start terrorizing her attacker. This might have been wishful thinking, but it was what I was hoping for. The ending still had me guessing at the conclusion though. I wasn't sure which way they were going to go with. For a fairly standard second half of a movie, the ending execution was well done enough to still have me guessing. I don't want to say too much more than this, other than it did have me wondering what the overall ending would be. The scenarios they set up during the movie were done so you didn't know the eventual conclusion. Hush is a very competently made suspense horror thriller. The tension ramps up when it's supposed to, and the bad guy is sufficiently creepy to evoke terror. The added setup of the main character being deaf was good for the start of the movie, but doesn't really play too much into the ending. The movie is worth watching if you enjoy a good suspenseful thriller. Just don't expect anything too out of the ordinary for the story. For a movie released on Netflix, I feel it has a higher quality than many of the films released in theaters today. It's worth checking out if you have 90 minutes to kill and want to be entertained. Have you checked out Hush on Netflix? If you have, what did you think? If you haven't, what is your favorite original content Netflix has? There is a ton to choose from. Mine at the moment would have to be Stranger Things. That was amazing. Comment and let me know. Like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Thanks for watching.